What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another UFC video. Let's talk about Noche UFC, UFC 306. Let's talk about my most confident favorites, some live underdogs, and some value plays and parlays that we can get into for this upcoming event. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and drop some comments down below on your favorite plays for Noche UFC. Now, how I like to start these videos is just to let you guys know that my most confident favorites are my most confident picks in general, despite the odds, whether they're like extremely high, whatever the case may be. It's just fighters that I'm personally confident in. And when I talk about my live underdogs for each card, it's not necessarily underdogs that I am picking for this weekend to win the fight. It is live underdogs that I recognize have a good opportunity in defeating their opponent. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, I don't drop my actual bets on YouTube. That I leave for Twitter. So make sure you head over to my Twitter, Limpy Bets, 2 Y's at the end of Limpy. And I actually post before the event, anything during the event when I make live plays as well. So make sure to hit me up over there. Let's get into it. And let's start off with my most confident favorites for this card. Now, first up is Yasmin Haragi. Right now, she is a minus 500 favorite. So you can't really do much with it unless you want to throw her into a parlay. I personally have her in a parlay, which I'm going to touch base on later in this video. But I just think she is the way better fighter than her opponent, Ketlin Souza. We all know how dicey women's MMA can get, and to have faith in a women's favorite at minus 500 is sometimes kind of insane. But in this case, I think Haragi is just way better than Souza is. I think this is a mismatch, and I can see this fight ending up being very similar to the Natalia Silva and Jessica Andrade fight, which I spoke about in my breakdown. And if you guys haven't seen that, make sure to go check that out as well. So she is going to be my most confident favorite. Next up, we got Diego Lopez. Now, some people are picking Brian Ortega, and I completely understand that because he is a veteran of the game. His only 3 losses are Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, and an injury against Yair Rodriguez. So I completely understand the faith they have in somebody like Brian Ortega, and maybe not so much their faith in Brian Ortega, but not putting too much trust in a Diego Lopez, who is a fantastic fighter that brings that danger factor to his fights, but is a little bit green in terms of experience in the UFC. Me personally, I just haven't been a fan of how Ortega has conducted himself lately, and it's not like a shot at him and like having this like personal vendetta. I just don't think he's taking it as seriously as he used to, and I think he's kind of injury prone, honestly. I'm just gonna say it. In that Yair Rodriguez fight, his shoulder popped out. I believe it was during like a submission attempt for Yair. Plus, when he came back, he like twisted his ankle while Bruce Buffer was introducing him. So I don't know what's going on with this guy's body. Is he falling apart? We don't know. And then in his last fight, when he was supposed to be his last matchup, when he was supposed to fight against Diego Lopez 2 or 3 months ago, we all know that story when Dan Ige had to come in on a few hours' notice. Ortega couldn't make featherweight, asked for it to go up to lightweight at 155, had a medical issue and had to completely pull out of the fight. So I don't know if that was a weight cut issue or what it was. Regardless, medical issue of some sort, and I just don't think that I can trust a guy that's been doing that kind of stuff. And honestly, Diego Lopez to me is just a younger version of Brian Ortega, who is quicker, more explosive, and can hang with him in the grappling department. So I have a lot of faith in Diego Lopez. I like a lot about him in his fights. He's one of those guys that likes to try and finish fights. He's always looking to get a finish, and I really like that out of a fighter. So Diego Lopez is going to be up there for me this week. And Ronaldo Rodriguez. Now, I'm pretty high on Ronaldo this week at minus 138. I personally think against Ode Osborne, this is a fantastic line for him. Ode Osborne, similar to Brian Ortega, is just somebody that I cannot trust. He can gas out. He also makes some questionable decisions inside of the octagon that kind of leads him to getting finished. And he is 12-7. Okay, so that's an awful record for a UFC fighter. He's been finished in 6 of those 7 wins, 4 by submission, I believe, and 2 by knockout. And Ronaldo can finish him in either of those ways. I think Ronaldo's 16-2. He has 7 KOs, 5 submissions or something like that. And we saw what he was able to do against Dennis Bondar. Yes, he went through some adversity in that first round, but he hung in there. He didn't gas out. He outworked Dennis Bondar in that second and eventually got the finish. And I can see something similar like that happening against Ode Osborne. I think minus 138 is a great number. I'm hoping that some people leading up to the event kind of like see the youth of Ronaldo Rodriguez and the fact that Ode is kind of like a savvy-ish veteran in the UFC and the experience may play a factor. And hopefully we can get an even better line on Ronaldo Rodriguez. But for right now, he's up there for me. And these 3 favorites are my most confident. And it goes from most to least confident. So Yasmin number 1, Lopez number 2, and Rodriguez number 3. Now, let's get into the live underdogs. And like I mentioned in the intro, these aren't underdogs that I necessarily am picking myself, but they're fighters that I recognize have a good shot against their opponent. Number 1 is going to be Ignacio Bahamondes. He is a plus 100. So this line started off, I think, even money. So minus 110, minus 110. But he is right now plus 100. Manuel Torres is getting some money on him. And I think leading up to the event, we're going to get some of these other guys betting underdog money on Bahamondes. In my breakdown, which I encourage you guys to go and check out because I go more in depth for each of the matchups. But Ignacio's length is might be an issue against Manuel Torres. He's also just as dangerous, I believe. Maybe not just as dangerous as Torres because Manuel Torres is the legit definition of a finisher. Regardless, I think Bahamondes has a way of getting this done because Manuel because he's a finisher. I think he has 13 first round finishes out of 15 career wins. So if Ignacio can kind of weather that first round, we don't know how Torres is going to handle the second half of the fight. If Bahamondes can kind of, like I said, weather that storm early, maybe drop the first round 10-9, but then starts picking apart Torres when he's slowing down and kind of using that technical kickboxing on the feet to piece him up, I can see him getting this done. So I'm personally picking Manuel Torres because I love the danger factor, and I've seen Ignacio Bahamondes get hurt in his fights. I've also seen a great game plan by one of his previous opponents, Ludovic Klein, which laid out a perfect blueprint on how to defeat Bahamondes. But I recognize he is a fantastic fighter, and he could possibly get this done against somebody who finishes most of his fights early. So we're going to see how that plays out. But Bahamondes is a live underdog. Norma Dumont. So Norma Dumont started off as an underdog. Right now the line is even, but at minus 110 at a pick'em, I'm still going to include her here. I personally like Norma Dumont for this fight against Irene Aldana. I'm seeing a lot of MMA analysts going with Aldana because of the boxing threat that there is on the feet, but Norma Dumont is no slouch on the feet. I don't think she should really entertain much of the boxing against Aldana because I do believe that Aldana is the better boxer, and she does have pop in her shots. We've seen glimpses of power throughout her career, finishing some of these girls like Macy Chasson with this freak up kick to the liver. She knocked out Yana Santos, formerly known as Yana Kunitskaya, and she knocked out, who was the other one in the first round? I don't remember right now, but she had another finish. And so I totally understand that, and that's why I don't think Norma should be entertaining the striking exchanges too much. But I just think Norma is going to win this in typical Norma Dumont fashion. I think she'll get the takedowns, garner a bunch of control, and I think she'll recognize the fact that it is Mexican Independence Day, and she might go a little harder for finding some damage on the mat. Typically, she doesn't really do that, but I can see her trying to do a little bit more this time so that she can guarantee herself the win instead of having a really close fight with Aldana and probably losing to the judges because it's Mexican Independence Day at the Sphere. But yeah, I really like Norma Dumont. She is personally a pick of mine for this weekend. Next up, Esteban Ribovics. He's taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Now, I am personally picking Daniel Zellhuber, but I understand Esteban has what it takes to compete against somebody like Zellhuber. Zellhuber's only 25. He's still pretty green. Like, he has a lot of experience in MMA, but he's still young. There's still a lot that he can learn. He's still growing he's still growing his skill set. And this line is just too wide, and that's one of the reasons why I'm putting him in this section. He is a plus 187 underdog against Zellhuber, who is a minus 225. I I think this should be more of a Manuel Torres, Ignacio Bahamundes kind of line. I'm okay with Zellhuber being the favorite, but I don't think it should be more than like a minus 150, minus 160 range. I don't think Esteban should be that wide of an underdog, even though I think Zellhuber wins, and I like the value on Ribovics. That's why he's added in this section, because I genuinely think that that fight is more of a pick'em. So Esteban he's dangerous, he's durable, and he can probably compete with somebody like Zellhuber. I'm personally going with Daniel. I just want to let that be known. I'm not picking Esteban as a actual pick, but I totally understand in that particular fight, all of the value is on Esteban Ribovic's side. So next up is going to be the title challengers. It's hard not to include them. They're both plus 110, so they're not crazy underdogs, but it's hard not to include these two in the live underdogs section, because Valentina Shevchenko at one point, not including Amanda Nunes, was the best women's fighter. She's dangerous. She's well-rounded. She can get it done in many different ways. And she was beating Alexa in the first fight before getting submitted. She was putting up one hell of a fight in that second fight as well. And so we just don't know what to expect from her. I'm personally picking Alexa to get this done, because at 36 years old, if she isn't declining, the Valentina, of course, if she's not declining, she's plateauing her skill set, and Alexa at 31 is 100% going to still be getting better when she gets into that octagon. And having fought Valentina twice already, I think this is going to be, I think it'll be a good fight for Alexa. I think she gets it done. Now, Merab, I'm picking Sean O'Malley to knock this guy out, but I'm just adding these in here for people that don't agree with my picks. Not everybody's going to be on the same side. Merab has that chain wrestling pressure that can defeat a lot of people, and that we've seen give trouble to a lot of fighters in this bantamweight division. He could easily do that to Sean O'Malley. I don't think he gets it done, but at plus 110, I do not blame anybody for taking a stab at the Merab Dvalishvili money line, but there's a lot of external factors on the Merab side that we touched on during the breakdown. I'm not going to get into it again, but I think Sean O'Malley wins, but I have to recognize that the two title challengers are worth the plus 110 line, and they are definitely live underdogs. Now, let's talk about some value plays that I took a look at in this fight. Oops, 1 second. I got to find out who's who here. Uno secundo. Anyway, okay, so these guys, I'm kind of messing this up. Regardless, okay, Torres by finish and Bahamundes by decision. A lot of people are going to be like, what are you doing? You're picking two different guys for the same value play. All right, listen, I'm on the Torres side, and if you are going to pick him, his line is minus 125, but him by finish is plus 120. So just a math for math's sakes, basically, if you bet $100 at minus 125, you're going to get paid out $80 profit. Okay, I'm going to double check the math, so I'm not lying to you guys. All right, yeah, perfect. So you're going to get 180 back, so you'll get $80 profit. If you bet Torres by finish at plus 120 and you bet 100, you'll be getting $220 back. That is an extra $40, and I understand that the money line covers you just in case this does end up going the 15 minutes and Manuel ends up winning. So I can understand there's a little bit of danger factor for not too much plus side. But if Torres gets this done, it is probably going to be by finish. The guy is extremely dangerous. We've seen Bahamundes get hurt, and I think that as the fight goes on, Torres is going to lose that pop in his shots. He's going to lose a little bit of that danger factor, and Bahamundes should be able to kind of run away with the fight in the later half. That's why I put Bahamundes by decision. Manuel Torres has that typical Mexican chin, and he's probably not going to get knocked out. I think he has good enough grappling to not get submitted by somebody like Bahamundes, who only has one career submission, and it was against Rong Zhu. So it's somebody that's 1-4 in the UFC right now. So I don't think there's a submission threat. Torres is extremely durable. So I don't think there's going to be a KO there for the Bahamondes side. But if you guys are on Ignacio Bahamondes, plus 100 is still great value just straight up on the money line. But if you want to get a little spicy, I think if Bahamondes wins, it'll be by decision. And plus 550 is a great number, in my opinion. Great. Like I said, I'm personally picking Manuel Torres to get the finish, and that's why I have it up at plus 120. But I recognize that Bahamondes has a path to victory, and it's probably going to be by decision because of all of the things that I just mentioned. All right, next up is going to be the Zellhuber and Ribovic's fight. And that is going to be the fight to go the distance. Now, it's only minus 155. I don't really like that number too much, but I think it's actually it's a good addition to like a sketchier kind of parlay if you guys are trying to get a little bit spicy. Both these guys have KO power, yes, but both of them are durable fighters, and they're going to be tough. My thought process on this one was similar to the Trevor Peek and Yanal Ashmuz fight, where it was even money on both sides, whether the fight was going to go the distance or finish inside the distance. It was at minus 120. I went with the fight to go the distance, and that was a fantastic bet. Even though Trevor Peek and Yanal Ashmuz were both they're both dangerous guys that have KO power. Both of them were extremely tough and durable, and that's why I decided to go with the fight to go the distance. Minus 120 was a fantastic number. It was a great call, I'm not going to lie. Twitter saw it. You guys saw me talk about it on the video, but that's the same thought process I have for this fight. Minus 155 is kind of I don't really like that. I would much rather it be like minus 125 or minus 130 even. I'll be okay with, but I totally recognize that this fight probably goes 15 full minutes, and I actually don't mind that number. Now, let me find this guy, Ronaldo Rodriguez. So, if you guys are on the Ode Osborne side, I understand why. I get it. I'm kind of high on Ronaldo Rodriguez this week. Now, minus 138 on its own, money line, is fine. That is a great number regardless. But Ode Osborne, like I said, he's only lost on the judges' scorecard once. He's been finished 6 times. Somebody like Ronaldo Rodriguez has the ability to KO Ode Osborne and has the ability to submit him, especially considering the fact that Ode Osborne is coming off of 2 rear naked choke losses in a row. And you guessed it, Ronaldo Rodriguez's last fight, he won by rear naked choke. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get a rear naked choke 100%, but I think he's going to finish Ode Osborne, especially at the Sphere, Mexican Independence Day. I think he's going to want to put on a show and really cement himself as a flyweight in this UFC. I was going to say cement himself in the UFC in this flyweight division, and I think a finish over Ode Osborne is really live. The finish number is pretty solid at plus 160 for him to get a KO or a TKO. KO or a submission. I think he gets that done. And this way you kind of get covered just in case he lands like a big shot and like finishes with ground and pound or something like that. I personally think he gets it done by submission. So plus 350 is calling my name. I really like that. This is something that I'll probably dabble on as the closer to his fight, depending how my bets go earlier on in the card. But minus 138 to just have him as a money line is totally okay. It's totally okay as well. Just giving out some things you guys can sprinkle on that I believe have a good chance of winning. So, and my last one is going to be Mr. Shawneth O'Malley by KO or TKO, like we talked about, plus 175. If you guys are on the Merab side, I get it. We talked about this, but I'm on Sean O'Malley. I think he gets this done by KO. I understand that Merab is an absolute machine and is going to bring that wrestling pressure and just constantly dive for legs. Sean O'Malley is a sniper. He's going to find the head of Merab when he's going down for these takedowns. He's going to put knees up the middle. We saw how well he did with that against Chito Vera. He's going to find that left hand that Marlon Moraes dropped him with almost, and Henry Cejudo hurt him with in his last fight. And he had a cut on his eye. Who knows if that's fully healed? People are saying they found a picture with him having staph infection. So how good is his cardio really going to be? Regardless, there's just a lot of things that are pointing in that direction for O'Malley to get a KO. So I like that number, plus 175. I think Sean O'Malley's money line is like minus 138 as well. Um, yeah, so even just him straight up money line is good. But if you want to dabble a little bit more for a little more value, I think that's how O'Malley gets it done. All right. So those are the value plays that I found. I'm going to still take a look at a little bit more. Maybe we do like a post weigh in, post press conference, post weigh in kind of like look on how we thought the fighters looked on the stage, how they looked on the scales, and all that stuff. But the one parlay that you guys can always count on for my bets is my most confident favorites. Basically, I usually have like maybe 4 at most confident favorites on a UFC card. This week I only have 3. Now, if you guys do decide, if you guys agree with my picks and you are just as confident, and this just reassured you guys for the picks, if you guys parlay Harrigy, Diego Lopez, and Ronaldo Rodriguez, okay? Where are my photos? I think it's like plus 238 or something like that. I took a screenshot. 1 second. Plus 231. So I think that is pretty solid. That is pretty solid. Even if you wanted to just take out Harrigy because of the minus 500 tag, Rodriguez Lopez should still be well into the plus money. I think that is a really good shot of hitting. But in terms of my other picks, I don't really like dropping them on YouTube because I'm not like 100% confident on making my actual bets on here. But that is something that I'm going to be working on and adding to the videos. But for right now, make sure you guys go over to Twitter and follow me, Limpy Bets, 2 Y's at the end of Limpy, and you can really get to see what my picks are, my confidence levels for each pick before the event. I post my pre-bets, my pre-event bets on there, my live bets on there as well. So a lot of good stuff on that Twitter account. And that's going to be the end of this video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Drop a subscription to the channel if you're new. And let me know what your guys' most confident picks are and your plays for Noche UFC. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.